This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today I don't have much of a deep agenda. So what I want to cover today is an update on the Boat test chip. We're actually kind of light on agenda for the next few weeks. So next week, what I'm going to do is sort of solicit some ideas on what we can cover, and what topics we want to cover. 10/8, we'll do a CDX update. Hey Shahab, at some point maybe it's worth doing a Bo status update as well. Either before the global summit, just to get a sense of, since we made a lot of progress on that.
Sorry, Bobby, I just kicked out. I don't know if you're talking to me. I think I heard one.
I'm saying at some point it might be worth doing a Bo status update, given how much the spec has evolved over the last few weeks.
Sure.
Either like 10:15 or something. Oh man, he's getting kicked out again. Okay. All right. Okay. What I want to do today is really walk you through some progress we've made in the Bo test chip, and get some first sort of feedback, and maybe really start looking for more participation in that. Let's see, who are my usual Bo test chip suspects who are online? Anu's here, Shahab's here. Anybody else? Prasad? No, Ilad, nobody. All right.
Bobby, this is Nick. I've unfortunately been traveling and been on vacation, so I'm not up to speed on exactly what the Bo test chip is.
Okay.
Is there something you can point me to, or do you want to give a quick overview?
So, all right. So let me take a first crack at it, and then there is a there is a document I can point you to as well. DJ is on the road right now, so he can't join us. But DJ has sort of been driving this effort, especially from an end user side. The test chip program, the main idea is obviously for us to build a test implementation of the bunch of wires interface. It's a program that meets every Wednesday at, wait, not 9. I'm getting at 10 a.m. Really, the minimal objective we want is to generate lots of public data about the bunch of wires interface to help in adoption, right? And we have 2 companies that are seriously pursuing an implementation under the test chip program. And there are 3 other in-house implementations that are not public. So end user support for the test chip is looking reasonably promising. What I'd really like to get going is some sense of community participation. And I don't know whether JP is online. A lot of our effort here is shaped by what we've learned from the board POC. Okay, Nick, maybe you can we can go on a Q&A. I'm glad you're here and you're asking. So the Bo test chip effort is essentially some mechanism to help us. The aim is to generate a proof point for Bo adoption. And the aim is to basically go off, and we had a review of the test chip proposals about 4 weeks ago, and I'll send you the specific test chip proposals from Blue Cheetah and D-Matrix. And they're essentially aiming for what you would call a Bo 256, which is 256 gigabits per second per slice, and on a TSMC process.
And this is for organic substrate?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Right now we're aiming for that.
Would be interested in finding out more.
And so there's a whole bunch of material online. Give me 1 second. Let me stop sharing. And we had a review. Does anybody remember when we had the review? I'll find that. Shoot, I can't. Okay, we didn't label the meeting. I think it was August 6th. No, August 6th was Kelvin. Ah, here you go. Okay. So this is 30th July. Right, and this is the discussion we had with different aspects of the Bo test chip, and I think Elad and Sudeep and Satya made their decks public. Let me just confirm, but we've been sending them out by email, but we haven't posted them. And you can find a link. This is on our minutes. So these are the minutes from July 30th, Nick. So you
Let
can
me
find
go look at the minutes. Okay.
these are the minutes here, July 30th, and there's a recording of the meeting. So this has some detail on the test chips we're trying to build, etc. Good grief. What else would I want? Right. Okay. So this is this is roughly where we in Q4 we'd really like to get some community participation in the test chip locked in, and we had what I would say was a more tiered participation effort in terms of gold, silver, and bronze levels. And I think some feedback from Anu in particular has sort of caused us to step back and see if we can make it simpler. So we've stepped back and said, okay, let's do a focus on in-kind contributions. In-kind contributions around 4 broad areas. Packaging. So the test chips themselves will come from the vendors and the design. And so the 4 areas where I think we need where we could use some in-kind contributions are in packaging, program, foundry, test boards, and program and performance characterization. Does anybody else who was at the meeting want to add anything here?
Has a process technology been selected, or is that still open?
The process technology has been, each vendor selected their own process technology. That's not something we're driving. Let's see, either Elad or Sudeep are not on. Okay. No, we're not driving the selection of the process technology. What was I going to say? But these are the 4 broad areas in which we want, we're looking for in-kind contributions. So it could be someone to take over ownership of package modeling, someone to go in and say, we're going to do package design completely. What we're trying to do is come up with sort of a first order cost estimate so that we can sort of, we can to a first order quantify a company's contribution, or at least make it it's a meaningful contribution. The biggest item by far is like this needs to be in a bigger font as foundry funding, whether we can sneak into somebody else's test chip or multi MPW or to reduce the cost. So that easily that's the biggest cost right now. The others are significant too, but this one just is 2 to 3x of the others. There's a public spreadsheet we have with the costs, and if there are other tasks you can think of, again, give me 1 second. Let me pull that up.
So, Bapi, for this foundry piece, if you're looking for companies that are running MPWs and you want to sort of pile on to that, we do need to make the technology for both the chips being done pretty clear up front, right?
Yes.
So people can decide.
And that's the thing, right? So go ahead, Anna, please. Yes.
And the other piece is usually with the MPW thing, you buy a tile, right, from the foundry, and those are pretty darn small tiles.
Right.
for a lot of, it's relatively inexpensive compared to a real tape out. But what I guess the ask is that you would share that tile with a company that's doing a tape out.
That's my thinking, that if you wanted to get a test chip out and there was a low cost way of getting it out, that you would share that tile.
Okay, then we need a little more specifics in terms of what is the total area ask, right? Because the tiles are
Yes.
pretty small, so it depends on how many tiles a company gets, if they can actually have enough leftover space. So I think it needs a little more definition from the two key test chip makers at this point.
Yeah,
if
so
it's a clear
Judith,
ask.
where my head's at on this is that if there is a tangible offer from someone either willing to share their MPW or a foundry willing to offer fab capacity, then that the test chip companies look at that and can make a call on whether they want to do a first order, whether they want to go down that route.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough.
And if they do, then they can sort of say, okay, we'll do a first tape out on this, do some characterization, and see whether that meets the needs of the end users, etc. And
Okay,
then do
so-
sort of the target.
Yeah. Right. First pass and then get into the details if that's a viable option.
Exactly.
Understood.
Exactly. Right. So if we can get to the point where, okay, somebody comes in and says, look, I've got like this low cost foundry option for you. I've either got an MPW or I've got a fab offer I'm willing to do, and then the two companies can look at that and say, yes, we'll take you up on it and we'll move in that direction.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Just the technology needs to be upfront, which I think they both have explicitly stated what they're doing.
They have, and so the key question is, are they interested in the idea of generating a proof point at a lower cost before they move on to their target technology? And they
Right.
might say no. That's their choice as well.
Yeah, got it.
Sorry,
Thank
Bill, you were going to say something?
Can you put up the chart again so that we can look at the four major areas that you mentioned? Foundry, packaging.
So we've got this, which needs to be developed a lot more. It is basically packaging modeling, design and manufacture, some form of program management and documentation, foundry, the chip design, which is proprietary, and test boards and characterization.
So, and before that, you also show that we need a substrate.
Yes, I put that into the package manufacturing right here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I have a slightly different question on how we are going to do it. It may make sense that if you go to two different fabs, and if it is like disparate technologies, right? Like a 5 nanometer and let us say a 28 nanometer. I'm just taking the two extremes. If these two both chips can interact with each other pretty well, given our specifications, how robust our spec is, right? So if we can plan that also with either, we would with the group would build one and there will be proprietary ones, and that may make some sense also, right?
Oh, it
So
makes
somebody
total
builds
sense.
a chip. Yeah. So maybe if we can rope in somebody so that these two guys can talk to each other on the board or whatever else levels we want, right?
Right.
Because that will basically prove that it does work across multiple I guess implementations. Yeah.
Totally. It would be a really good proof point. And we would make it like a separate third packaging option. So if somebody wants to step in and say, okay, we're willing to take a package design that takes these two different test chips and glue them together, and the two companies are willing, because at this point the IP for the test chips themselves obviously belongs to the two vendors. But yeah, we can do that. That would be just fantastic. So roughly in what I had in mind, and we're still sort of playing around with the options, is one contribution level where you sort of say around $50,000. It's not a precise number because we can't judge it exactly. around $50,000 or more in funding, and 20,000 in cash. And what you get is participation in the design reviews for one of the designs. You get performance data, and you get access to you get a test board, or $60,000 in cash. That's roughly where my head's at, and this is what we came to as a group about 2 days ago. And the third option is, should there be like an all in-kind contribution at a significant level? If somebody is willing to do about $100,000 of in-kind support, should that give them a design reviews and performance data as well? The test board is going to cost real money to make and distribute. So these are this is the contribution model we were sort of playing around with.
And are the two companies that are working on this public, or is it?
Yes. So one's D-Matrix, and the other is Blue Cheetah.
What, I'm sorry?
Blue Cheetah Analog Design.
Oh, Blue Cheetah, okay.
Right. So Anu, does this look simpler?
Yeah, no, it definitely simplified it. Now it's a matter of convincing people. So it at least gives you very clear data of what you're going to get. The previous one didn't give me that, so hence I whined.
No worries. It was a good. I mean, it was a good ask. So this is not pushback. It's more a question of is this easier in your mind? Is this better compared to where we were?
Yes, it's better in terms of clarity. Now, will I be able to convince them to fund this? We'll have to see. But yeah, it's definitely. Okay. And if people have opinions of there should be more than one level, this is just something I think Bapi thought would be nice to clean it up. But
I think the gives and the gets are easier. I mean, there's just one kind of get, which is design reviews, performance data, and the test board. In my mind, it's a Shahab's insistent that this is going to be a pricey board, so it's you can't get out of pocket unless somebody is willing to pay for it in some way.
Right.
Any thoughts? So roughly, this is the.
So Bapi,
one question I have. Oh, sorry. Good.
So where people can find the more detailed information about the test definition, for example, what kind of silicon technology you plan for, and other specifications like power consumption and so on. So where are those information available, and the test plan? And then I think I could approach to some people and to see whether they can contribute, right?
So let me go. Let me just do one thing. There's one. Sorry, Swami, was that you? The second question?
My question was that at every level, what is the data we plan to collect, and if we have a rough like an outline for it, so that then we can go and identify which parts of it different people can do. Right? That means, for example, do you need what kind of characterization do you need? Do you need a burn-in? Do you need a 1,000-hour lifetime test, and those kinds of questions, right? On silicon. Also in design, if we can exactly define the parameters of what this is basically like doing a chip specification, right? In a little more detail. Huh? The die size, all of that kind of stuff. If we can upfront kind of put a good to have plan in a sense, right?
Well, we're trying, right? Yeah. So I think part of the thing is for anybody interested in contributing to say, hey, this is what we can do, and to have one of the two vendors say, yeah, we like that, and we will work with you for our chip for that.
Okay.
Right. So part of the motivation for putting up this spreadsheet is you hit the nail on the head to fill out more detail on where we want to be. Right. But yes, I agree with you. We're trying that. Oh, sorry. So this is the recording from about July 30th. You can see a lot of detail on the test chips. And you can see how we've changed our participation, and we can see a design, more detail on the design. Okay. So Lee,
Yeah,
Some of the
this,
fabs,
that's good. Yeah.
no, some of the fabs also miss, for example, when JDAC does its test chips, for example, right, which is very similar to what we are. What they do is they give the JDAC design in a sense to TSMC. I know that in a lot of cases, a lot of measurements of say IOs and all of that, some of us have done on the JDAC, some of these JDAC designs like memories or stuff like that. And then TSMC will kind of also subsidize your stuff, saying that you contributed this back into our database. So there are all of these very interesting things we could do to see whether the thing we do, we would get a better deal in a sense for that. I think shutter run. Or on the MPW. So there are various of these plans that we could go and explore. Somebody who has a fab connection with TSMC, or even I don't know Samsung, but I know Global and TSMC have these kinds of schemes where we could do that.
right. And so the big question is, this is a decision that the design vendors have to make in some sense, because it's obviously their IP on how much what they're comfortable with. But yeah, these are good options.
Okay, so you can put up your Excel file again.
Say that again. Excel file.
Yeah, the Excel file. So it seems like ASE already agree on the package part, right?
No, they didn't. Nobody agreed.
Oh, no, not yet.
No,
Oh,
nobody
okay.
agreed. I was
So,
using-
but the reason I'm asking is which area you mostly,
Let me
in
read.
short,
Let me
particularly, I
these
think
are
that the chip
examples.
foundry is a kind of the key thing here, right? And it put 500,000 there.
Well, so there are 2 or 3 ways to slice this, right? One is straight up to see if we can find funding for the fab that the vendors are interested in, and which they believe is what the end users are interested in.
Okay.
The second option is to sort of do a negotiation the way Prasad just outlined, which is to see whether there's some creative ways to reduce the cost. And the third option is to see if there is an MPW on a different process node which has a dramatically lower cost, or a foundry which has a dramatically lower cost, but is still interesting to the design houses.
Right.
Right. Because in theory, the performance point we're going after, 256 gigabits per second per slice, should be workable at or should be achievable at other process nodes as well.
So the idea is this is a kind of a proof of concept, and then once it's done, it will be an open source IP, or
No. For that would be require way more funding, because each of the design houses is putting an enormous amount of labor in expert labor into this, right? So no, this is the real aim of this project is very straightforward. So I keep coming back to, there have been several data interfaces which have been in flight for years now, and it's almost impossible to get any performance data about them. And what we're trying to do in this is to make information about POE as disseminated as widely as possible, so that designers can make good, well-informed decisions when they're choosing a data interface that, the bow will be sort of fully characterized, available for people can take the data that's say process node A and map it to their own process node. Basically to make a lot of information available.
Okay.
Because there's a whole bunch of open interfaces, but zero open data today.
Okay. So the contributors only get access to the information of the test vehicle, not the eventually IP, right? So the
Not,
IP is owned
that's
by,
right.
so
Yeah.
the IP will be owned by, okay.
Well, so I think we can
OCP
get
or
back to
who will own that? Okay.
the IP will be owned by the semiconductor IP will be owned by the design vendors, and we can how do I put
Design.
that without making promises on their behalf? I think they're obviously open to the idea of they're looking for more users for their IP. So I think this is a mechanism to engage with them to use their IP as well.
Okay.
But it's not going to be included in this.
Okay. Because that's critical. Because once people join this effort, they want to know what is the outcome and how they can use it, right? And how much they need to pay for the IP or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that that's definitely a fair ask. This is going to be something where once a company decides, hey, we're going to participate in this. My sense is you need to have a separate one-on-one discussion with the vendor you're interested in, and see whether this effort can lead to a separate sideband negotiation on using their IP.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, Bobby, what you have shown over here is the 3 different options for contributions. Is that right?
Yes.
And these 3 different options for contributions, is that only towards the test chip, and is that also goes towards the packaging?
It's everything for the program as a whole. So
Program as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now,
think of this as this is sort of medium in-kind support, for lack of a better word. This is little or none in-kind support.
Yes, I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many how should I say it this way? How many contributors do we need in terms of your total budget?
If we had this, we need a handful. We really need a handful. We don't need an army of contributors. We need a handful.
Yeah. Okay. So first one is 100,000 in kind. Second is 50,000 in kind plus 20,000 in cash, and then the last is 60,000 in kind. Okay, 3 different options.
Yes. And the gets are roughly the same. You get design reviews and performance data, and we can talk to the companies about whether they're interested in some sort of a discounted access to their IP, but that's their decision.
And when one get the test chip, and so what is the ones you made the contributions, then the test chips will be available to test inside the company, or are all the test results shared? or
The
maybe
test
both?
results will be shared, and the current plan is for with a cash contribution. And the initial reaction of the two vendors was positive, but we have to work out whether this is actually practically feasible. Is to offer the test board to the funding company.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think you have clarified a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. So that's basically what we're trying for, and the goal is to sort of get someplace in October, is to see whether over the next 30 to 45 days we can round up some community support for this effort. And the example that you saw is that nobody has committed anything to this. ASC was just because Elko and Bill are easy to talk to, not because they've actually committed in any way. as a reference examples. Let me see. Any questions? Does this make sense to everybody online? Anybody with any thoughts? Okay. Then in that case,
I have one question. A couple of times during discussion this morning, I think you and Anu mentioned the cheaper fabrication plan. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Anu, you want to go first? Or is she still online?
I'm here. Sorry, Shahab. Could you repeat that?
I think a couple of times I heard you and Bobby were talking about the cheaper fabrication plan. Can you?
Oh, yeah, that's basically if a company wants to do an MPW. So what the foundries do is at regular intervals, and I don't know how often it is for a 5 nanometer or a 6 nanometer test chip currently. But what they'll do is they'll basically say, we're going to do an MPW on this date, this month, this date. And whoever wants to buy, they sell small millimeter square, it could be a 3x3 tile. Let's just say a 3x3 is a standard tile. And if you want to put a test vehicle in there and it fits a 3x3, you buy one tile. If you want more than that, you buy two tiles. And because multiple companies go on to that MPW and it's a standard mask set, you get a discount because the cost of that mask set gets divided by the number of companies coming in. So it's a lot cheaper than if you were to do an entire mask set by yourself on a separate reticle.
I think that is going to be planned for both Blue Cheetah and T-Matrix. I didn't know that they're going to do full mask for this.
Yeah, no, I think the question was really if they want to jump in on somebody else's MPW.
Okay.
I was just asking Bapi, we need some clarification on, first, the technology has to sync up. And the second piece is how big is the macro they're going to do? How much space is left over? Because, no company is going to buy a lot of extra space for fun, right? So
I got it. Thanks. Because I got a little bit confused that maybe we have a plan for different node rather than 5, 7 nanometer, maybe.
No, it's, same thing.
Okay, thanks.
Shab, the plan in my head is many large companies get a free ride every once in a while, like, buy one, get one free or something. And if they're willing to pass that free ride on to the test chip effort, but that's for a very specific process node, which may not be the one we want.
Got it. Thank you.
And the second part was, if an alternate foundry, if we've sort of been focused on TSMC, if there's an alternate foundry which could be interesting to the end users as well, then we do a proof point on an alternate foundry and then come back to whatever we're interested. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, I think I've covered everything, the primary agenda item for today. Anybody else with any thoughts, any questions, any suggestions?
just to clarify that the design houses who have actually decided to do this, do they have the whole plan, or they are just saying we'll design it and give you the GDS2 or whatever, and then you do it? Is that how it is being envisaged right now?
No. They have a plan to go off and build
End to end, right?
Right. They have a plan to build end, and we're trying to see whether we can sort of get our interests aligned and some sort of a community effort going so that this data becomes widely available.
No, but they are ready to share, like, which means you're saying that building boards and building tests and building all of that. So we will get access to the dies or whatever, and then
Yes,
yeah,
that's
okay.
the work. That's the theory.
That's
Yes.
Okay. So we have to go and negotiate with them either as a group or as individual, whoever wants to do it. And okay, understand.
Exactly. Okay. Let me see who's online. Anybody with any opens? Any questions on this? Okay. Well, in that case, everybody gets 20 minutes back. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.